The federal government is set to create a new advisory body to help protect Australia against the risks of artificial intelligence. Today's announcement is all part of the government's response to a consultation paper released last year on safe and responsible AI. The Shadow Minister for Cyber Security and Home Affairs, Senator James Paterson, joins us in the studio now. James Paterson, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you make of this move by the government and their intention of establishing what the Minister, Ed Husic, calls mandatory guardrails when it comes to AI?
Look, generally speaking, we think the government is heading in the right direction based on what we understand now. There certainly are risks to be managed when it comes to artificial intelligence, but there are also enormous opportunities, and we wouldn't want to inadvertently stifle the innovation that's taking place here, particularly because we're engaged in a global race for this technology. It'll have enormous economic and commercial implications, but it'll also have strategic implications. There's a reason why it is part of the second pillar of the AUKUS agreement with the United States and the United Kingdom, so we don't want to see it being clamped down too much. The one area where I'd like to see more action from the government on this is when it comes to the impact on democracy. Generative AI can now generate images, video, audio, text that is indistinguishable to the human eye. And it's very easy to think about the adverse implications of that for democracy in an election campaign if fake content was put out there that you or I couldn't distinguish between real content.
Well, how do we tackle that?
One of the things that's really important, I think, is watermarking and mandatory labelling of content which is generated by AI, so that there is a way in which at least the platforms which are responsible, the major platforms, can educate their users about what is real and what is genuinely footage that your news organisation has taken and broadcast, and what has been created on a computer and is totally fake.
Let's turn to the Middle East now. As you know, Senator Penny Wong, the Foreign Minister, has arrived in Jerusalem. She has had meetings overnight with both Israel's President and Israel's Foreign Minister, both heaping praise on her and Australia for its support, so you must welcome that.
We certainly welcome that the Foreign Minister has finally made it to Israel. We think she should have gone earlier, and frankly the Prime Minister should have gone, like the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Italy, Germany, the European Union. So many other of our like-minded partners did in the immediate aftermath of October 7. It shouldn't have taken 3 months to take this trip. And it is notable that the Foreign Minister did not meet with the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, while she was there. It would have been much more normal for that to happen if we had...
the Foreign Minister, she meets the Foreign Minister of the other country.
And that's my point. If our own Prime Minister had visited, we would have been able to secure that meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel. And I think there would have been advantages to that because Australia has interests in what's happening in Israel and what's happening in Gaza. We do want to see this managed in a way that's consistent with our interests. We have citizens in the region, and by not being able to secure that access, I think that is unfortunate.
OK, she is meeting or has met with families of Israeli hostages, also potentially victims of the terror attacks on October the 7th. Does she... I know you've criticised the Minister for not going to the areas in southern Israel that were the targets of the attack. Does she need to if she is meeting with families and others in Jerusalem?
We think it would have been an important gesture for the Foreign Minister to be there and to see for herself the horror firsthand. When David Cameron was appointed Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, within almost a week of his appointment, not only did he travel to Israel, this is in November last year, he went to southern Israel, he visited Kibbutz Be'eri, one of the sites of those horrific massacres of Jewish people, the worst massacre of Jews since the end of the Holocaust. And he himself said it was important for him to be there to experience that. And I think it would have been important for our Foreign Minister to do the same. I think it's very unfortunate. Israel's not a big country. It's not a long way away. It would have been a very small detour to do that, but something that would have meant a lot to the Jewish community here in Australia. The
government has also announced care of Penny Wong over there, $21.5 million in humanitarian assistance for Palestinians affected by this war. Is that something the opposition supports?
There absolutely is a humanitarian need there, and Australia has a role to play, but I was concerned to see that among that $21 million was $6 million for UNRWA. When we were in government, we halved our
Just
funding.
For our viewers, what's UNRWA?
UNRWA is a United Nations agency which operates in Gaza and the West Bank, and it has in the past been implicated with funding inadvertently organisations like Hamas. Its schools that are run by UNRWA have been implicated in teaching anti-Semitic content to their students. An UNRWA teacher was implicated in the holding of an Israeli hostage in the most recent Gaza attacks. UNRWA is an organisation which we cannot be assured Australian taxpayers' money is well spent. And even David Feeney, a former Labor MP, was critical of this decision last night on social media. So I am concerned, and I do want the government to be able to reassure Australians that taxpayers' money won't end up finding its way to Hamas because they've decided to give money to UNRWA.
Before we go to a domestic story that's created headlines over the last few days, Peter Dutton, your leader's call for Australians to boycott Woolworths. Do you support that?
I do. I think a lot of big companies in Australia really haven't got the message from the Voice referendum. Woolworths, like many others, spent $1.5 million of their shareholders' money without ever asking shareholders, backing what was a very divisive and in the end unsuccessful campaign to change our constitution. In their attempt to now cancel Australia Day, I think they're really not picking up the vibe of the community. And I think Australians who don't agree with that should take their money elsewhere.
But it's one thing thing to express concern. Isn't boycott a pretty big step, given the number of Australians, 200,000 Australians employed by Woolworths? If a lot of Australians, all Australians, decided to act on your leader's message, where would those people be?
Woolworths is a very profitable company. I'm not worried about them going out of business tomorrow. And I think Australians who are concerned about this should, as they do in every other field of their life, send their money, send their dollar to companies that support their values. Australians are very clear about this when asked. They actually don't want big business weighing into divisive political debates like this. It's unsurprising to see the Prime Minister defending them. He always defends big business, particularly when they support his political agenda like The Voice.
James Patterson, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.